What you may have heard this evening was the Green Bay Packers Super Bowl window finally slamming shut with Aaron Rodgers as their QB. It's sad. This is not the way, obviously, any Packers fan wanted it to happen. I'm not trying to be morose, but right now, the Green Bay Packers are a bad football team. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan. But it sure does help. Does it though? I'm your host, Tom. The Lions. Grossi. And today we are going to be talking about the Green Bay Packers loss to the Detroit Lions 15-9. I have lost a bet to one Jim B. So instead of Harold Jr., we got Larold chilling on here. And everything is painful and everything hurts. Folks, it's just so frustrating to see your team do the same thing over and over and over and over again. There's a point against the Bills where you're like, oh, maybe things are going to get better. They learn from their mistakes and then go right back into the insanity that hadn't worked for the past month. And that's what we're watching with the Green Bay Packers. When I'm saying the Green Bay Packers are a bad football team, it's not just because Aaron Rodgers played like hot garbage today. It's not just because there's a ton of injuries that are going on. It's not just because Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, whichever one it is, are deciding not to give their best player, and it is their best player, Aaron Jones, the football more than 9 times. It's not just that. It's not just the fact that the defense is exhausted every single second half because the offense is freaking choking it up every time they take the field. It's all of these things. And a few weeks ago, after we lost to the Commanders, I broke down a whole video saying what's wrong with the Packers, in which I laid it out. And now, the Packers are 3-6. And it's abysmal. They just lost to the Detroit Lions, who have the worst defense in football. And we scored 9 points. 9. Let's just go through this game and then we'll talk about everything. Aaron Rodgers, 23 for 43, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. First one, bounced off a guy's helmet. Don't really blame him too much for that. Second one, David Bakhtiari is the target on that play. Rodgers said in the press conference that there's basically only 2 people that were the target there, looking for David Bakhtiari, which why you're calling a pass to your left tackle on 4th and goal, beyond me. But misses him blatantly. Throws a terrible pass. Then Aaron Rodgers again throws another bad pick in the red zone, right near the 1-yard line, throwing into some pretty significant coverage. Aaron Rodgers only sacked once today. Their O-line was the healthiest it has been all season. Elton Jenkins back, Dave Bakhtiari back. Dave Bakhtiari wound up leaving. He wound up coming back into the game. John Runyon got hurt for a little bit. He came back into the game. And you're like, okay, Aaron Rodgers had some pretty good pockets today. But still, 3 interceptions. You know who the leading rusher was today? Aaron Rodgers. 4 carries, 40 yards. Taking a look at what the Packers did or didn't do in the run game, A.J. Dillon, 11 carries for 34 yards. Aaron Jones, 9 carries for 25 yards. And there were times, absolutely, where they handed the ball off and the Lions just stuffed them. On top of that, the O-line was having a tough time opening any running lanes. But the freaking fact that Aaron Jones, he gets injured later in the game, and, he's obviously not there, and that's why Dillon becomes the featured back. The fact that you are not giving him the ball as often as humanly possible, whether it's in the passing game, whether it's in the rush game, I don't understand. Matt LaFleur has stood on that podium week after week after week. We should probably try to get him the ball more. Aaron Rodgers is in the locker room this past week. Oh, look, we gave the ball to Aaron Jones against the Buffalo Bills, and look how that turned out. Yeah, they still lost. The offense was the best it had looked in a month. And so I had some hope, some optimism that coming in against the worst defense in the league, maybe we should give the ball to the best player on the team. We didn't do that. Alan Lazard, 4 for 87, 1 touchdown. DeGuara, they got him involved a little bit with the passing game, so that was nice, 5 for 41. But this offense is broken. This offense seems completely lost. Aaron Rodgers, and he said it in the podium, played like hot garbage today. Was terrible. Underthrown balls, overthrown balls. Of course, the interceptions that we're talking about. And it cost them at least 14 points today. This was an abysmal performance by an offense that has looked terrible for the past month. Again, had that spark against Buffalo. They had that fight. I sat here after the Sunday Night Football game and I told you, hey, maybe there's some room for optimism, but it depends on if they actually execute it. If they call upon their best players, if they scheme him open, if they scheme getting him the ball, and they just don't. And Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason, is obsessed with hero ball. Look at that very last drive. The Packers defense comes up strong again, as it played pretty damn well today. Got a turnover, though the pass rush was still garbage. But let's look at this last drive. They're in decent field position, and they have all their timeouts at one point. They have to blow one timeout. Fine. They have 2 left. They have time left on the clock. And instead of just strategically moving down the field, Rodgers just keeps on throwing hero ball. And guess what? They lose. So explain to me how this can be pinned on one person. It is Aaron Rodgers, and it is Matt LaFleur. The play calls are bad, and the execution by the back-to-back MVP quarterback is bad. And that's just the last drive. You need to look at that entire game because the way that that was called was terrible. The Packers were in this game. They had so many chances. They could have blown the Lions out. But instead they got beat by, again, one of the worst teams in football who also have a ton of injuries themselves. That is embarrassing. This was supposed to be the get right game. Pitiful. And now they're going up against the Dallas Cowboys who are coming off a bye. And even worse, look at the injuries now. Romeo Doubs, injured early on in that game, took away a passing threat. He was seen on crutches and with a foot in a boot. Eric Stokes, foot in boot. Rashawn Gary, foot in boot. Aaron Jones, foot in boot. Not a great day for feet or boots. Meanwhile, the Lions, 14 for 26 for Goff, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Nothing crazy there. Jamal Williams, 24 carries for 81 yards. Is that an amazing stats? Absolutely not. But it got the defense tired. And they're like, hey, maybe we should hand it off to our running back who's pretty talented. Also, our run defense is absolutely atrocious. Missing Devondre Campbell in the middle here when Stokes went out, that hurt a bit, but there's no excuse for the defense to be playing this bad. We talked about Joe Barry being a problem. We talked about players not executing, and you saw it again today. Jackson, 4 for 27. St. Brown was their leading receiver for 55 yards. And again, you look at the Packers, it's not just the offense, it's not just the defense. They're an undisciplined football team, which then you look at coaching. 8 penalties again. One was really bad, roughing the passer, in which literally Inagbari literally hit Goff on the head and got called for it, which was a joke. But 8 penalties. Like, the Packers keep on shooting themselves in the foot. And everything is going wrong. Because when there's something going right, whether it's the defense playing well, the offense is not on the field long enough, so the defense is going to get tired. It's amazing to me that all the offenses that play the Green Bay Packers know how to beat the Packers and then stick to that game plan. It's amazing to me that we don't stick to any game plan, and it really just seems like we're a chicken running around with our head cut off. It really does. And that speaks to LaFleur, that speaks to Rodgers, it speaks to so many things. And again, he was asked about this in his press conference. Said, like, is it missing Devontae? And he's like, it's a bunch of things. And he's right, it is a bunch of things, including him. And I think why this hurts even more is because last year, Packers fans saw that as our last dance, right? We had the past 2 years. That was our Super Bowl window. And now what we're going through is the front office of the Packers. They tried to stick their hands underneath the window and pry it open a little bit more. They're giving a ton of money to bring Aaron Rodgers back, Rasul Douglas, and on top of that, Devondre Campbell. And what you are hearing, seeing, and feeling right now is that window slamming shut on their hands. And now they can't really do anything. Goody, LaFleur, Rodgers, big extensions. They're going to be on the team. People are saying, are they going to fire Matt LaFleur after the season? They're not. Aaron Rodgers, Whether he leaves or not after this year, they are going to be paying him for quite some time and a lot of money. This is not where you just go and you get a rookie and, put a few pieces in. That was what this year was supposed to be. We were hearing all throughout training camp how good this defense was. We just didn't realize how bad this offense was. And the Packers, again, the control time possession, 32 minutes to 25 minutes here. It doesn't make any sense to watch a professional football team, which has had so much success in the past, be so bad at executing and shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again and not sticking to a game plan that has proven to be successful. It's the Lions. And respect to the Lions. They got it done. The Packers, though, shot themselves clearly in the foot. It was abysmal. 0 for 4 in the red zone. Shutout in the first half. Packers offense literally couldn't do anything against the worst defense in football. Aaron Rodgers talks about how now we're going to be seen as underdogs every single week. Absolutely. Every single game that is played for the rest of this year, we should be the underdogs because what they're putting on the field is awful. Truly awful. They're playing the Cowboys next week. That's going to be a really tough game. I said after last week, the Packers basically had 2 losses that they could afford. Well, now they're 3-6. The Vikings won again today. Looked very beatable, and that's what's so frustrating. The NFC is very, very beatable. But now we have a schedule left that includes the Cowboys. The Bears' offense is surging. The Vikings, the Eagles, the Dolphins, and I know the Dolphins had a tough time today too, but those are not going to be easy games. And hell, even Lil Wayne doesn't believe in us anymore. So I think you're going to see a lot of pundits get on this week and talk about, well, we should have traded Aaron Rodgers. A lot of them are going to speak in hindsight. And I think that there's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on this week. And Rodgers can talk about, he's been counted out his entire life. And, it's all about how they respond. Right now, this Packers team, there's nothing that indicates they're going to respond to anything. Is Jordan Love going to be put in at some point? He might, but probably not. Because the franchise is probably not going to do that. Not when you're paying $50 million to a quarterback. So at the end of this season, however this season goes, the Packers have to make some serious decisions. There's going to be guys who are no longer going to be on this football team. They're going to have cap constraints. People were complaining they weren't aggressive during the trade deadline. They were. Offered a first-round pick for DJ Moore. Didn't get it done. Second for Claypool. Didn't get it done. Went after Waller. Didn't get it done. One of these guys is not going to fix this team. OBJ, not only is he not going to fix this team, why the hell would he come to this team right now? Because this does not look like a Super Bowl contending team. So here we are. What very well may be the end of the Packers dynasty. And I know lots of people are going to be cheering for it. But Packers fans, it's sad. And it sucks because there's going to be a lot of what ifs. What if we traded Aaron Rodgers? What if we kept Devontae Adams? What if we didn't? What if blah, 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 blah. But all that really doesn't matter because now all we have in front of us is this team. For better or for worse. And it might hurt for a little bit. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Before we get out of here, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First on the Patreon side of things, we have T.O. Link, T.O. Line, just in case I said that wrong. Captain and Izzle, we have Brent up in their membership. A big shout and thank you to you. We got Geezer and we have Rex B. And over on the YouTube side of things, join the Grossi Posse Plus. We have Tuxness, we have Edward Z, we have Megan Gallkroger, we have Brandon Russell, we have Windblade Lavis, we have Riley Zom, we have Greg Torres, and we have Jesus Play Activity. A big shout out and thank you to you all. But folks, how do you feel about this game? How do you feel about the Packers season? Let me know. You know, somebody at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out Backcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.